Teachers are the very foundation of a free and civic-minded society. And when our educators are committed to teaching patriotism and Americanism to their students, those students grow up to be responsible, world-changing leaders. In our effort to celebrate the work these patriotic and dutiful teachers do every day in their classroom, it brings me great pleasure to introduce the 2025 National Citizenship Education Teacher of the Year, representing grades K to 5, Tim Smitty of Staunton, Illinois. Smitty was chosen for his passion and work promoting patriotism and his deep respect for our nation's veterans and military service, shown through his annual hourly program called the Patriot Club. Featuring a full color guard with ceremonial rifles, posting the colors, a full honor guard posting the POW MIA flag, and the posting of all military branch flags, along with the respective military hymns. The Patriot Club has performed annually for 24 years and is a favorite among students, community members, and veterans. He spends months organizing the program, training his students to aptly perform the responsibilities of a color guard, every year growing and expanding the program to ensure the service and sacrifice of all local military members and veterans are remembered and honored. Please join me in welcoming Tim Smitty, sponsored by VFW Post 1241 in Staunton, Illinois. Where'd he go?
Back behind you here.
Okay.
This is going to be easy to read. Tim R. Smitty, Staunton Elementary School, Staunton, Illinois, Teacher of the Year 2025.
Good morning, everyone. I didn't really know I was supposed to speak very much other than say thank you. So I am going to talk a little bit about our Patriot Club. 24 years ago, I decided to form a club. My professor, when I was working on my master's degree, helped me to search for a program that would be about patriotism. And we couldn't find one out there that was appropriate for 10-year-olds. By the way, I usually am teaching to 24 students, and they're all 10-year-olds. There's more than 24 students here, or I should say veterans here, and I'm not sure I see any of my 10-year-olds here. If you're like me, I'm a little more than 10. But our Patriot Club focused on a couple of areas. First of all, patriotism was one of the biggest things that we taught in many different ways, studying history, bringing in different parts of history, as dancing and a Native American section related to that, and of course our own color guard, our own band. We have just about everything you can imagine. And the reaction of our kids was unbelievable. We had about 88 in 5th grade this last time. Every one of them with the same shirts that we purchased for them, every one of them with the same colored shorts or pants that we purchased for them. It was all funded by individuals like you, veterans, and that's important to me. My family, my dad, who's passed away last year, was in the United States Navy. All my uncles, there's somebody in the Navy. All my uncles were served in the Army and the Air Force, and so my family has a great connection with military service. And I expected that my students would know that before the end of the year, and they did. One mother said her kid was up at 5 o'clock wanting to go to school because of the program. And she says he only does that at Christmas. And so that really affected me. When you know that those kids are up there crying as they're singing, you know you made a connection. You are the reason why I do what I do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, I'm very pleased to introduce the 2025 National Citizenship Education Teacher of the Year. Representing grades 6 to 8, Krissy Wingo of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Wingo was chosen for her continued efforts to prepare responsible citizens while encouraging a strong passion for STEM and fostering an atmosphere that values hard work, collaboration, and bettering local communities. As a member of the Space Foundation's International Teacher Liaisons Group, she uses space-related educational programs and practical resources in the classroom. Wingo also works to bolster education on cybersecurity, biomedical engineering, machine learning, and robotics. She is also working on bringing hands-on models, rocketry projects to the school to further inspire her students. Please join me in welcoming Krissy Wingo, who is sponsored by VFW Post 7829 in Monument, Colorado.
Veterans of Foreign Wars, Krissy Wingo, Colorado Springs Christian School, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Teacher of the Year for 2025.
It is truly an honor to be recognized today. I am the proud daughter and granddaughter of U.S. Army veterans. My father, Terry Sims, served from 67 to 71 in the 313th Army Security Agency. He was attached to the 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg. And before that, with the ASA Battalion at Herzog Base in Germany. My grandfather, Robert Sims, was drafted in 1943 into a Field Artillery National Guard unit at Fort Dix, New Jersey. He and his brother, my great-uncle Grady Sims, fought on the beaches of Normandy. I know they would be proud to see me standing here among you all today. Believe it or not, I did not start out as a middle school teacher. I have an aerospace engineering degree from Auburn and worked as a Boeing engineer on the Space Shuttle program and later on the Air Force E-4B program before I became a teacher. I often joke that I left my career in aerospace to become a teacher because rocket science wasn't challenging enough. And it's true in a lot of ways. As our students face new challenges, so do the teachers. Given my engineering background, I guess it makes sense that I teach math and science. I developed a series of classes for Colorado Springs Christian School called STEM. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. I was nominated for this award by one of my STEM students, Kate, and her mom and dad, both of whom are retired Air Force. In STEM class, my students are given various engineering challenges to complete. For example, to build a tower out of only newspaper and tape that's as tall as possible, as light as possible, and can hold as much weight as possible. So we study structures and bridges and civil engineers for a little bit, and then they get to work in teams of usually 2 to 4 students to try and create the best tower that they possibly can. In STEM, we focus on the engineering design process, and students learn, sometimes for the first time, that failure is as much a part of the process as success. We focus on learning from failure and not giving up. So while we study academic things like structural loading, the forces of flight, and computer programming, the outcomes that I focus on are resilience and grit, both hallmarks of all of the veterans that I know. I am blessed to serve this next generation of innovators and community leaders, and I am deeply grateful for all of the ways that the VFW continues to love and support both students and teachers. It is truly an honor to receive this award from you all today. Thank you.
Last, but certainly not least, I'm pleased to welcome the 2025 National Citizen Education Teacher of the Year, representing grades 9 to 12, Nicole Petrosillo of West Milford, New Jersey. Petrosillo was chosen for the energy and dedication she brings to the classroom, along with the many veteran-centered projects she oversees throughout the year. From her work as the War and Remembrance Ceremony Committee leader and coordinating care packages for deployed canines and military members, to ensuring her annual curriculum has connections to World War II, PTSD, and the effects of war, her dedication to honoring America's service members, veterans, and instilling civic mindedness is a proven facet of her teaching method. From organizing letters to veterans, to utilizing curriculum focused on novels like Unbroken and units in AP psychology, she introduces tough topics like the impact of war, PTSD, and the call to service. This whole body approach helps her students gain a comprehensive understanding of the sacrifices made by service members, veterans, and their families. Please join me in welcoming Nicole Petrosillo, sponsored by VFW Post 7198 in Hewitt, New Jersey.
Veterans of Foreign Wars, Nicole Petrosillo, West Milford Township High School, West Milford, New Jersey, Teacher of the Year 2825.
It's a lot of people. Thank you so much for this great honor and the distinguished privilege to represent West Milford, New Jersey as your VFW State and National Teacher of the Year. This by far is the achievement of my lifetime. Thank you to Rudy and our West Milford VFW Post 7198 Commander, Bill Johnson, a member, John Trojanowski, Pat Lockman, Mike Dotson, Pat Joyner, Scott Card, and some of the other gentlemen I have come to know through our local War and Remembrance Day who nominated me for this award, and to Wanacue Post 6765 Auxiliary, where I'm a lifetime member. I'm proud, yes. I'm so proud to have become part of your platoon, so to speak. Hooah. Congratulations to the other recipients, and thank you, veterans, for you represent the best of patriotism and citizenship. Thank you to my family for your love and continued support in all I do, even though my endeavors often mean time away from you. To my mom and dad and daughter who traveled here in person, to my husband and twin boys cheering me on in their high adventure scout trip in Canada, and my oldest who is wishing me well from cadet leadership training after just finishing advanced camp at Fort Knox not even 2 weeks ago. I have a few words, but I'm going to try to speed them up. When I was a little girl, my mom and dad used to set up the slideshow projector in the living room. I know I'm showing my age, but there's nothing like the nostalgia of clicking through the little whirly thing going around and seeing pictures projected on a wall instead of on a tiny screen. Anyway, we would click through the slides, and my brother and I saw pictures of my then 21-year-old father in his Air Force uniform proposed by one of the jets he used to work on. He was a jet engine mechanic at Udorn Air Force Base in Thailand during Vietnam. My brother and I just thought he looked cool, and he did, with that J-79 engine and the Buddha temple and the picture of him leaning on the gate of the Airmen's Club. It actually looked really pretty with the palm trees and tropical feel. Little did 8-year-old me know. I always knew my father served, that my uncle served in the Navy as a fire control technician, also in Vietnam, and that my mom's dad was in the Navy as a CB, working on building runways in North Africa during World War II. And my father's father was also in the Navy, a gunner's mate on the USS Marine Raven, part of the invasion at Normandy, and his father before him was also in the military. But it was not until I was much older, at least in high school, probably not even until after, that I fully grasped what it meant, what their sacrifices and their service cost them and their families. I see it now. It was in the fanfare and the thanks they did not receive upon their return. To all the Vietnam vets here today, welcome home. It was in the loss of their brothers and sisters in arms, nearly 41,000 during Vietnam alone. It's in my father's neuropathy from exposure to Agent Orange. I get it now. I definitely get it now, especially the first time I saw my own son in his Army fatigues and when I pinned on his air assault school wings on him at graduation, although I failed the blood punch. Shh, don't tell anyone. And I heard of his experiences at Fort Knox. Trust me, I get it now. I'm one very proud mama and a nervous one as well, as he will start off into active duty in just under a year, but don't tell anyone I'm nervous about that either. It's not enough for me to understand the sacrifices that you, our brave men and women in uniform, have made. It's for my students to understand. I fully grasp the role I have as an educator today. I acknowledge the broader platform I have and the opportunity that's been afforded to me to make a difference in ensuring that children today understand their role and their duties in patriotism, democracy, and citizenship in their local community and in broader scopes. I know that in my 25 years of teaching, I've influenced the lives of give or take 3,000 kids, and it's my duty, my obligation, and my honor to utilize this platform I have to ensure that students who cross my path know how crucial and how valuable our military members are, how essential it is to honor you, our veterans, and those serving now, their sacrifices and their roles in preserving our American freedoms and our democracy, because you are the ones who chose duty, honor, and country. With so many previous generations having passed on and with VFW numbers declining, it's even more important that kids today do not forget, that kids hear your stories, know what their forefathers endured. They need to be aware of what it was like for the men and women who fought on the front lines or worked in countless other ways during World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Persian Gulf War, Operation Enduring Freedom, the global war on terrorism, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, Operation Inherent Resolve, amongst others. Apologies for any I did not name. They should know of those who were not welcomed home as heroes, but who instead were spit on and called names. These children were not born when 9/11 occurred. They do not know of the great sorrows we felt or the tragedy of that day, the pain and suffering we endured watching the towers fall. But they will also never know of the great unity that rose from such horror, the patriotism with which our nation swelled, and how we were all Americans after 9/11, how we banded together, and how a fractured nation began to heal. I do. That was the beginning of my second year in the classroom as a teacher, and I saw my students' faces as they learned of the attacks so close to our home where we worked and where their parents worked, and they looked to me for guidance. I will never forget, and we will never forget, but they need to learn. If teachers do not use our classrooms to grab hold of moments, not to just teach English or psychology, but to also teach of the enduring spirit of patriotism and the passion of serving and the call to greater good of defending freedom and our nation, and indeed of something more than oneself, it is a great loss. It is not only a misstep on the teacher's part, it is a detriment to their students and to this generation. So while yes, I do happen to have a particular connection to veterans due to my own family's history, and the future through my own son in the Army and potentially Department of Defense aerospace engineer daughter. If you have any connections, you can see me at the side of the stage on the way out. Those who have served and those who are currently serving should not just be a passion of mine, it should be something about which all Americans and all teachers are passionate. And so I challenge anyone here today to teach the younger generation their civic responsibilities, that the students should be involved in their communities and organizations within their schools. They should be informed about issues that affect them and others around them. They should defend the weak, be honorable, engage in selfless service, respect others and their differences, and live with integrity. I challenge them to walk with passion, but also kindness, to lift others up, to be good Americans, because if they do not, all of the freedoms afforded to them by you, the men and women in uniform from the past or today, who fought to protect those very freedoms and values, mean nothing. So I thank all of you again for this great honor and for naming me as your high school teacher of the year. I accept the call and strive to answer it by continuing my work in educating our youth. But in my eyes and in my heart, it only matters because you all were brave enough to answer the call, courageous enough and patriotic enough and American enough to be the first ones to answer that call. So I thank you all for this great honor and for your service.
Thank you very much.